C.S. Lewis's series on the Four Loves. Last week, I did part one, but it wasn't part one, it was part two, but I thought it was part one. I was supposed to finish the chapter, but I started it again, so Dave is more than gracious, forgave me. And so this week, we really are doing part two of the series on friendships. So last week, for those of you here, you saw me, then you didn't, because I left, went to Albany Airport, I had to jump on a flight, or try to jump on a flight about Chicago, and I got back late last night because my flight was delayed, and so I tried to get on the first flight. I'm a pilot, so I get the ride on other airlines for free. We have an agreement. I couldn't get on that flight, so 10 hours later, we were delayed on the other flights. In the meantime, I went back to my car, parking garage. I was going to go get a Subway sub, so I had something to eat instead of paying airport prices. And my car was in a good spot by the exit, I thought. So I went and got the sub, came back, and it was still open. I said, oh, God is good. So I parked there. I got there last night. There was pigeon poo all over the sidewalk. I said to my passengers this week when we were delayed, who of you believe the glass is half empty? Who here believes the glass is always half full? Wow. Who here believes the glass is always half empty and it's going to get knocked down and broken? So that's me. Everything is bum, drum. But it has nothing to do with where we're at. So we're continuing the series. And last week, I was talking on text after lesson, and this young person was conveying to me, she wonders why simple things are always made difficult. And I think, if I understood what she was saying, she was referring to C.S. Lewis. And after reading the rest of this chapter, I think I agree with him. But part of the problem is because the way we are created. We have been created to think. And when I say think, I mean conceptualize. Because animals think, but we conceptualize. We can think, I am thinking, I exist, and one day I will not exist. The body won't exist. That we don't think the animals are doing. So we have the ability to think, and we have the gift of free will. So Lewis is attempting in his writings to explain why people think the way they do and then exercise their free will. And this can often be characterized by when someone you know, even a Christian, does something and you say, what? Are you crazy? Now, we can think of that of certain elements of the culture, but Christians doing crazy, wacky. I don't mean, can I say that? Yeah, I'm going to say it. Young people crazy. Because there's young people crazy and then there's regular crazy. For example, my one daughter, she sent me a clip jumping off a cliff. And she, snap, I think I broke my back. Dad does not want to get those videos, right? So I know you young people like, what do you say? No, you don't say rock on, you don't say solid. What is the word for cool now? Sit. I think that's old too, right? I'm looking at all you young people and you are leaving me in the dark. Okay. Anyways, that's why some people tend to make things complicated. And guys like me are like that because I love the nuts and bolts of how things work in reality. reality and stuff like that. But we're talking about C.S. Lewis here. And once again, we're talking about different types of loves. And why do we need to define love? Why isn't love just love? Because there's different types of love. And now I'm going to put the regular Capstone people on the carpet. Tell me the 4 types of love we have. Agape. That's good. What does that mean? Selfless, divine love. God to man, man to God. What's the other one?
Phileo.
What's that one? Friendship. That's today. What about the other 2? Eros. What is Eros? Eros. Pastor Lee's not here to correct my poor. What is Eros? Passion. Right? Can't talk about that in church. Oh no, who created it? But no, we can't talk about that. And the last one? You should know these young people. Oh yeah, you would know Eros, but you should know these because you deal with it every day. As my daughter said to me, you will press me. So the last one is the love of a parent or child for parent. These are the 4 types of love. So we were in affection, not affection. We were in philia, friendship, the last 2 weeks, and now we're going to finish up in theory. So just as Lewis sought to define affection, the parental stuff, he is defining friendship. And in normal C.S. Lewis style, he starts here and he goes way around to get to where I thought he could go real easy. So it might be tempting to dismiss Lewis's specification of friendship as friendship is friendship, right? Friendship is friendship. Do you feel that? I mean, friends are friends. It's just friends. No? Kinda? Yeah. But philosophers always have to make things complicated. So last week we considered Lewis's rebuttal, his reply to the claim back, and this is probably 50s when he wrote this, that some claiming that all, at the root, the basis of all friendship is homosexuality. Because he defines friendship as sames. Same between guys and girls and girls. And he talks a little bit about friendship between guys and girls, but he doesn't go too deep in that. So we're talking mainly friendship here between sames, guys and guys, girls and girls, and he responded to the claim that at that root, it's all based on homosexuality. And we're not going to revisit that, except to once again say, despite what this culture teaches, just because we morally disagree with that choice of lifestyle does not mean we hate them. It does not mean we spit on them. It does not mean every single person is going to kill a homosexual, vigilante style. That is a gross reductionistic exaggeration meant to achieve an agenda end. Because if they disagree with us, aren't they disagreeing? Does that make them haters? We're not going there again. So Lewis is looking to define who we are as humans. And I love this about the whole thing. Who are we? Have you ever thought about who you are? I'm Joe. I'm in the 10th grade. We gotta do stuff. Parents make me do chores. Or you might be doing Linda. And I've got 16 kids, 2,400 grandchildren, and they only come over when they want something. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking who we are. What makes us what we are? Have you ever thought about that? Because God has a lot to say about who we are. Yes, Kevin, it's all about I'm a sinner, no good, rotten person, blah, blah, blah. No. God made you in his image. Now, there's a lot of debate in philosophy what that means exactly. But what it does mean is there's a similarity between you and God. And yet there's a distinct difference between you and God, right? You're corporeal. God the Father is not. And yet you share the idea of conceptualization, of self-realization, all these things you share with God. So, we're back to trying to define love in light of all of that. Love, nor less friendship. Because what's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. Young people are going, is he singing? Us old people, remember that. Because I went around one day with that stuck in my head all day. And sometimes, once I told my passengers, you'd love to hear this other father. I had a song in my head, and it's the Shark song. Who knows the Shark song? Right? Just then, my co-pilot up front played it on the PA system. You get a flight and a joke. Yeah. Anyways, can you define love for me beyond saying it's an emotion? What is love? A choice. But I choose vanilla or chocolate. Everyone knows you choose vanilla. But, what do you mean choice?
So many. Sometimes you choose to love in spite of someone being unloved to you.
I'm not looking at you wondering about what's going on. Because I wonder about that, my wife, why me? Anyways, God is love. He is loving, and we could also say he has the attribute of love in a way we don't. Well, what is love? It's choice.
Well, you alluded to who we are, and we're made in the image of God, and I think a friendship, there's a kinship and an attraction that appeals back and forth because of the commonality of our the way we're created.
Right. Okay, hopefully we'll get to that, but that's the point. Lewis makes that point that friendship, unlike eros, passion, friendship is a different animal because you usually share something in common with your friends. And Aristotle went over the different types. We're not going back over that. But think about it. The friends you have, often it's based on something in common. One woman in an article just talked about how she was friends with other women because they were both trying to have children and they were going through that, but once they got pregnant, their friendships kind of just went away because they weren't sharing the same goal. But maybe you have a friendship where you're sharing, I'm trying to think of a situation, maybe working on a project, construction or something. Right. So, we can go down the list. If you have a friend for life, I think that's a rare thing. Because sometimes friendships break apart over trouble. Right? What is love? emotion, instinct, merely biological function to foster procreation. That's Darwinian theory. The love you feel for your spouse is just fizzing of your brain. That's all it is to get you to procreate. How comes it continues after the child rearing years? I watched a show on evolution once, and Darwinian evolution, and they were saying, we don't understand why humanity continues to live so long after their child rearing years.
Because
I mean, in the animal world, you kind of die off after you procreate.
But then your love changes because now you have common interest as a child. And then you have that life to raise the child, so you're doing that together. So it is common. It's supposed to be that way. So that love changes, yes, not necessarily always physically, but it changes and it grows and it becomes bigger. It takes on all of the elements of love, not just one, of friendship. Now you have all the components. And as your partnership, you should have all components of love, not just one.
I agree. Not so young people. Your spouse, if you've been married a good while, has your love changed? Now, be honest. Us fellas tend to stay strikingly handsome well into our later years. Thanks for helping me out, fellas. But love does change, right? No. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Are there any verses in Scripture telling us why God gave us love? Not that He loves us and we are to love each other. No. Why He gave us love. Are there any verses that tell us why He gave us love?
First John,
Which is?
this is how we come to know love. Christ is laid his life on the cross.
Okay, that's what love is, or that's actually a exemplification of love, but it's not the reason why. God could have not gave us love. He could have just gave us the instinct to procreate, and that's all we need. But He gave us love.
Emily, it's in His image. It's He is love.
Anyways, was that a hand?
I have Greek, but I don't have verse.
Okay. If you know kind of what the verse is, what were you thinking?
Continue. Don't wait on me.
All right. So Lewis doesn't really answer this question either, and I'm not going to try to answer it. But we delved quite a bit into Lewis's claim to counter the claim that all friendship is at its root homosexuality, and his response to that basically is, echoing back to the original comment, why do they have to think it's so complicated? Those who think that never had a friend. That was his response. What? Never had a friend? And this is where we get into the idea of friendship is a different animal than passion. How is friendship a different animal than passion? Heroes. Can two married people be friends?
Yes.
They can, but often they aren't. But they can if I survive long enough, my wife doesn't strangle me. She has a word for me sometimes, it's called chucklehead. She has another word for me when she's really upset, and that's no words. How many guys in here are married? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? When they're not talking, you are in deep trouble. Got hot in your house. So, he even calls this obvious. This is so obvious. And how does he justify this thing? So they really don't know what friendship is when they're making this claim that at its root, friendship is all passion, homosexual passion. He goes on to say, when you lose, and he uses the friend lover, and I'm a little comfortable at first because from my day, the word lover was two unmarried people having rendezvous. I'm not going to go into the details beyond that. That was my concept. But biblically, from the Song of Solomon, and young people, you are not allowed to read that book in the Bible. You are not allowed to. Now they're all going to go out because they told them not to.
Read it with adults.
Lover and marriage is connected. So when you lose a lover, he says it's different than when you lose a friend. Do you have any idea what he's going with this? Why is it different when you lose a friend than when you lose a spouse? What's that? Help me. Part of you, okay? Could you have a dear friend like that? Lewis talks about friends are side by side, while lovers, married people, are face to face. He talks about in a love relationship, often the topic of that relationship is constantly talked about. If you have not had a love relationship yet, trust me. Whereas in friendship, you really talk deep about, what is the basis of our friendship? How deep would you call our friendship? Do you feel like I'm being the type of friend you need? Guys, don't talk about that. We talk about far more important things in friendship, like when does the game come on? Are you going to eat that? How do I look in these jeans? No, guys, never ask that.
But isn't there a difference, though? You have one that, you have a person that is there to help and help nurture your emotional needs back.
Talking about friends.
No, we're talking about the lovers. The lovers
Okay.
are a spouse. They are to build each other up and to help each other with their emotional needs. Now, and I guess physical and physical as well. However, when you're friends, you still have a different need that is fulfilled, and that's with interests, but it's not necessarily your emotional needs. One might be advice, but they aren't petting you or saying, building you up in that way.
Right, and I think as Lewis is getting at that, and even if there is some of that in friendship, it's often not stated. Unless two friends are having an argument, then, you never, you always, How many of you have had an intense argument with somebody, like a friend, with your spouse, and you use the never, ever, always words? Anyone else besides me do that? Don't. Told my daughter when she got married, my youngest, don't say these things. Fight nice. There's no way you're not going to fight. I'm sorry, young people, if you're like contemplating marriage, and like my friend, one friend, they were engaged, and he said to her, when we fight, I think we, and she started sobbing. And she said, oh, I didn't think we were ever going to fight. And then she told me, after they were married, at one point, they were having an argument, and she had the door closed in the bedroom, and he was pounding, I'm coming in there! And, no, you're not! You know, maybe I'm the only one who's had fights like that. Those of you who had, or, I went over that. I went over that. I went over that. Skip. Skip a little, brother. What movie was that from? Anyone? You're all good church people, so you would know the great theological, wonderful movie Monty Python's Holy Grail. Skip a little, brother. Last week we covered some verses that spoke of friendship. One in particular, a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And conversely, often Scripture uses male language, but it doesn't mean only male. So you could say a friend is one who sticks closer than a sister. And I'm going to be honest, I look at my wife and her sister, I look at my daughters, I think girls stick closer than guys, you know. But why would God create a friendship situation? We talked about why God gave us love. But why would God create the ability, the potential for us to have friends? Why would God do that?
Strong communities.
Build a strong community. Okay. Ooh, didn't think of that one. That's good. What's some other reasons that God designed us to have friends?
So when Jesus was talking to his disciples, he said, I no longer call you servants, I call you my friends. The servant doesn't know what his master is doing. So he was calling them into a deeper relationship where they would know more about each other. And that is one of the things that separates us from the animal kingdom, is the ability to have such a close relationship that it's kind of like God and us. Jesus said, "You're calling now my friend."
People who look at my notes ahead of time. Any other ideas before I come back to that? Any other ideas why God created friendship potential?
Isn't it? It's no greater love than to lay down your life for a friend.
Okay. Yeah, so you two are kind of on the same page. No greater love. I remember 300 years ago, I was in Ramstein, Germany. We had been flying support missions for months ahead of a desert storm and just flying like crazy. And then he said, you're not going downrange tomorrow. You're flying us like crazy, and all of a sudden we're not, because the ground war started. And there was a clip of a Marine general talking to some Marines close to a foxhole, and he said, the reason one Marine jumps on a grenade to save his fellow Marines is not duty or honor or glory or patriotism. This general can't say that. He's going to get fired. He said it's one Marine's love for another. If you ever have spent take word for it. But just like marriage is in part a demonstration, a teaching tool for us to understand God, so could friendship. And Lewis actually cries this later, but I have to disagree with him. Friendship is a tool to demonstrate our relation, God's love for us and our love for Him. Right? Because things, true friendship, you care about a friend. You look to do good by the friend. Yes, us guys, we throw each other under the bus. That's what guy friends do. When a guy friend is in trouble with his wife, we're not coming to his rescue. In fact, we're going to laugh at him. But at the same time, we care about that friend. Jeff in the back, he has repeatedly shown how he calls up people who are not related to him. And he cares about them. And he checks on them. A reflection, not perfect, of God's care for us.
Some of it, I say that sometimes, like you were talking about men or people that have a specific ideal or common interest in each other. Is it more the love of each individual in that group or that common interest that bonds them in the love? For instance, if you were to go to an anonymous meeting, those people are so connected with each other that, and when they speak, it's like, let me always be there for the hand of another and to help them stay clean or sober. It doesn't matter. I may not be, one individual may not be somebody I'll bring home every night. It may not be somebody, they may not bring me, you know. I may not have certain places I'll go, but if they call me at any time, day or night, I'll be there to help them get through that piece. But it's that piece. Doesn't mean it's every piece in their life. So there's certain places where that love, because of that ideal and that principle in which you're set upon. Is it the principle and all those that encompass the same principle, or are we talking about love for that particular person?
So you've given me a disjunctive dilemma. It's called one or the other, and it could be both.
I mean, it can be both, yes, it
Right.
grows to be both, but is that, I mean, that's where the beginning of some of these are, like with men, or women may go to a knitting club, the men may go to an automotive club. Is it the ideal in which you're working towards a goal?
Well, I do know that, you know, we speak from man's perspective. Like Lewis said, I don't give much thought to friendships. You know, I have guy friends, and we're just friends. And that's it. And it's time to go mow the yard or something, you know. So I don't really know what to say, but asking the question is pertinent to help us define friendship. How friendship is a different animal from passion. So I think that would be the takeaway there. So another thing is the steadfastness and commitment of a dear friend is to teach us the steadfastness and commitment of God for us, Christ for us, and us for Him. How committed are you? How steadfast are you in your commitment to Christ? Is it peripheral? Is it because I get dragged to church? I'm talking to young people. I'm talking, sometimes spouses go because their spouse makes them, and that's great. Yes, that's awesome. But How committed to Christ are you? Because in another major religion, that commitment can be forced. Put a gun to your head, and if you say certain words, you are a member of that religion. It doesn't matter if you mean it or not. But in Christianity, God knows the inside of you. Are you committed? Are you steadfast? And that's often easy in times of ease. But in times of danger, when they say, deny Christ, or we will chop your head off, or worse to me, deny Christ, or we will chop your wife's head off, how committed are you? You know, I kind of think that's an easier situation than the one we're in, where I'm afraid of being rejected by perfect strangers. And sometimes I have to rely on the great theological thesis where I imagine God saying to me in tense words, you know, like, okay, I'll go talk. I don't want to. I just want to be left alone. But how committed am I? Am I willing to risk not just all I have, but my being liked? Am I willing to risk that for God? So I think that's one thing. But let me ask, how often do you experience the closeness and security of God? How? We know in church you're supposed to say, oh yeah, all the time, get her. But reality, have you ever felt significant distance from God? Have you ever felt like you were abandoned by God? Thanks for your honesty. Thanks for your honesty. And that goes to our human condition, who we are. In reality, when I was a young Christian, I thought Christianity, my Christian life would be like this. In reality, it's all over the map. And sometimes it goes down off the map. I think, to me, the most tough time as a Christian would be if your dear loved one or dearest friend got cancer and was dying. All those nice flowery words of Christianity, are they true now? The rubber's meeting the road. And I'm supposed to say something glorious, but I don't think God needs me to defend him in that sense. Because if you eventually go through that, hopefully there'll be a friend around, like Mike was, who didn't come and spout nice, flowery religious phrases and throw Bible verses at me, but he said, I will go through this with you, Kevin. I will go through this with you. So, as we end this chapter, and I think I'm not going to do all the rest. Any thoughts on Lewis and this specification, this defining of friendship, love thing? Anything that strikes you, anything that you disagree with, anything that touched something deep inside? What are your thoughts?
So I think we get distracted. We're numbered in families, just all these distractions. And our doctors, our children and such. And so you're distracted. But as you go on, you build relationships. I always believed in God when I was younger. But until I got to my Great Baptist church,
like a litmus test, as we call it. No, the words are very good, and I won't diminish them by making a joke, but I really want to say, and it didn't hurt that he's incredibly charming and handsome, right? There you go, thumbs up. Took a few seconds. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on all this?
I have a high school friend 50 years ago, and we had a common interest. We bicycled from Florida to Washington, D.C. at 17. And we've gotten together since and done a few short rides. And we're on vacation now after working this week. My wife joined me. We're going to stop in and do this in Finger Lakes. And it's a relationship that we can pick up even if we're apart for a while. And it's just a long-term, it's nice to have an old friend, and it kind of points back to God. It's always there for you.
Always there for you. Oh, gee, I sure hope I'm that type of friend. That would be my desire. Anything else? Last minute or two?
I think until you know the love of God, you can't really understand it. Because you think of it in the wrong way. And then when you have that relationship, your focus becomes different because you want to be more like Him.
Yes.
So you have to take your time to love Him. And I know you're talking about, I lost my husband, so when you're talking about parents, the two shall become one. And so you feel that. And friends come alongside you. He tells us not to forsake ourselves together. Our fellowship. And we do that. And I go back to the government. If you think about that, and there was Adam, he was with God in a wonderful place, but yet God saw that need for Adam, and he sent him to create the world. So when you experience that kind of love, and I have one of the kids who in the children's home, one of the ways that they're like, you can't love me, you don't even know me. And I said, yes, I can, because I love God. And he shows me that love.
Right.
And that compassion. So, because I know there are a lot of people that don't even know what love is, and that's what they're looking for. That's why they're going to the wrong relationships. Or going to the wrong church, because they're looking at that love that only Christ can give.
Genuine love. Real love. Not fake. Now say something, Lynn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, one thing I found is, and we touched on it last week a lot, about the whole basis of all friendships, the homosexual something. And it occurred to me, and I thought about it a lot last week, there is always somebody that's going to come out and put it in print, and we're going to say, well, that must be the case, right, because they wrote it, we're reading it, so that must be accurate. Do you know what I mean? It's like, in today's world, we have, like, all you gotta do is turn on your phone or your computer, everybody's saying, well, this is the way it is. There's always somebody saying, and this is back to C.S. Lewis, I was thinking it was 50s, this is copyright, 60s, but in those days, somebody was saying that, and who somebody's are, you know what I mean? It's like, we think, well, there's a scientific study, so that, sure, but of course, there's a lot of scientific studies that are discouraged. So, I don't know, that's just what hit me, and I'm thinking,
Good.
who makes this stuff up, and from, where is this coming from? So
Right.
yeah.
Right, and that's my world as I deal with alternative ideas and concepts, and even within Christianity, there's differences of ideas, some profoundly different, and the idea is to correctly formulate the question before we get the answer, and keep the top things, It's called the essentials, non-essentials. Things can get lost in the non-essentials.
But then,
It'd be hard to imagine God setting up that relationship like that, if that was in truth, the basis of it. God being God.
but isn't it true that love isn't just an emotion as we all want to think it is? Love is an act, like you should.
Yes.
We need to love
Unless it's 2024 in November, right? Yeah, a little sarcasm. All right, Father, good day, good thoughts. Lord, I'll readily confess I don't understand Lewis totally. I didn't back when he was an assignment, and I almost less now. But what I do take away is you created this for us, for a purpose. And in part, it's to reflect who you are. And that's one of the big things of church. Who am I? Who are you? I pray this week we have an opportunity to talk, to share, to love somebody who's not lovable, who's not a church person.